Hello, everyone, and thank you for viewing this presentation about standards-based assessment and reporting. My name is Kurt Soderberg, and I'm the principal at St. Croix Central High School in Hammond, Wisconsin. In the spring of 2018, our school board confirmed that our middle school and high school will be following the path of our elementary school and moving to the standards-based method of assessing and reporting. We have not yet set a specific date as we are committed to building the system prior to full implementation. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you with, number one, a snapshot of our work thus far. Number two, a basic explanation of what standards-based assessment and reporting is and how it works. And number three, a clear comparison of SBAR to traditional grading. We are committed to maintaining some of the features of traditional high school grading and reporting, including letter grades, grade point averages, individualized education programs or IEPs, transcripts, academic groups such as National Honor Society, and academic honors. The use of standards is nothing new in the United States. Standards have been used since the mid-1990s in classrooms throughout the U.S. However, currently there are so many standards, it is estimated that a person would need to remain in high school until age 23 just to demonstrate learning of all the standards. In a standards-based system, we begin by identifying the essential standards. That is, those standards that have the greatest impact on learning and success. In a standards-based system, we are focused on student academic achievement, not accumulating points. We work from the mantra, show me what you know, and I will assess it. Assessing and reporting academic achievement separate from behaviors. We have identified the areas or 5 buckets that we need to fill prior to moving forward with full implementation of SBA and R. Number 1, essential standards. 2, rubrics. 3, assessments. 4, internal tracking. And 5, grading and external reporting. For the purposes of this presentation, I will primarily discuss our plan for bucket number 5, grading and external reporting. I'd like to begin by providing you with a framework for SBA&R, methods, and philosophy. In a traditional grading system, the system used in the United States since the early 1900s, if not earlier, a typical learning process includes providing information to the students, testing them on the information, and moving on. This is considered selecting or sorting talent. In a standards-based system, the process is much different. We focus on informing and instructing, providing penalty-free practice, robust feedback and reteaching, assessing, feedback, reteaching, and reassessing as needed. The goal? Develop all students. The analogy I use to describe the process of teaching and learning is the act of changing a tire on a vehicle. Let's say as a parent that I have a child going off to college and they will be driving their own vehicle. It is my responsibility to make sure, for their own safety, that they have the knowledge and skills to change a tire safely and properly. To be clear, there is no option to not learn this skill. I begin by informing my child about what we will be learning and explaining why it is important to learn the skill. I do not hide the goal or end result we're looking for. I make that very clear so the child has an understanding or picture in their mind of what we are trying to accomplish and what success looks like. After informing my child, I begin to instruct them about the necessary tools, the parts of the tire, and the process. Following the instruction, which will certainly include some questions, we allow for practice, practice, practice. This practice serves several purposes. It allows for the child to A, ask questions, B, try techniques, and C, learn the sequence needed to be successful. Secondly, it is risk-free. That is, we do not penalize the student for not learning the skills during the practice phase. The goal is for them to have the knowledge and skills in the assessment phase. How much practice they need is determined by the child's ability. Throughout the process, the child will receive feedback on how they are doing and where they can make the process better. The other portion of feedback comes from the child. The child provides feedback to the adult via questions to help increase learning efficiency and help the adult be a better teacher. We remain in the practice feedback loop until the adult and the child believe they are ready to take an attempt at the assessment. The assessment is an opportunity to measure progress against the standard. It doesn't have to be the end point. The information gathered from the assessment should be recorded and reported. This is one of the most critical parts of the teaching and learning process, the reteaching and reassessing. Using this information gathered from the assessment determines if reteaching and reassessment is necessary. If reteaching and reassessing takes place, the new results should replace the original score. We do this because we are interested in measuring and reporting what the child actually knows, regardless of when it is learned. Spiraling is the purposeful review of concepts that had been covered previously. For example, if I teach my child to change their tire in August and never review or spiral back, it is very likely that they will forget the knowledge and skills needed to properly and safely change the tire. Therefore, when my child returns home for Thanksgiving, I spiral back to make sure they rehearse the information and skills necessary to change the tire. Depth of knowledge, or DOK, is not a new concept in education. DOK refers to the continuum of understanding from simple, remembering, to advanced, analyzing, evaluating, or creating. DOK is important because it gives us a true measure of how well a student knows, understands, and applies the information. One of the best examples of the difference between low-level DOK and higher-level DOK has to do with state capitals. Naming the state capitals is a low-level DOK. Expressing why state capitals or governments are important to the proper functioning of a state and federal government is a higher level DOK. The rubric shown here is designed to connect the different levels of DOK to more concrete descriptions of their meaning. You'll notice several key components. Across the top are the achievement levels from below basic to advanced. The second row are the general words used to describe the specific achievement level. The third and fourth rows contain I can statements and more specific descriptions of the general words used to describe the specific achievement levels. These descriptors are meant to be used as a guide and not an exhaustive list of expectations or tasks. This slide depicts the same DOK achievement, but includes a simpler description and the example tie back to changing the tire. In the advanced description, it is stated, I can demonstrate the skills and explain it to others. And the I can below it is I can correctly change a tire and explain the what and why of the process. In the proficient, the description is I got this. And the I can is I can correctly change a tire. In the basic level, the description is I'm getting close. And the I can is I can change a tire with some assistance. And then in the below basic, the description is I have work to do. And the I can is I can recall some of the parts and steps in the process. Let's look at an assessment in a traditional model. Before I begin this section, I want to make it very clear that I am in no way suggesting that teachers are the problem. Quite the opposite. The teachers I've worked with are generous and dedicated educators operating in a system that hinders their ability to work efficiently, creatively, and individually with students. This is not a people problem. This is a system and tradition problem. The great news is we can fix it. Let's take a fairly typical assessment. This assessment takes place in a high school classroom, and here's the key information associated with the assessment. 20 questions, 100 total points possible, 88 points earned, and an 88% or a B plus. This is the system most, if not all of us, have experienced as students, and it is likely what we still experience through our children. As a parent, I might say to my child, a B plus, nice work. Keep working hard and shoot for an A next time. But what do the results really tell me? And what questions should I really ask my child? What concepts or standards did the assessment cover? Which of those concepts or standards gave you the most difficulty, and what will you do to make sure you learn those concepts? How many of the questions were at a higher DOK, depth of knowledge, and how did you do on those? The more our children function at or near the high level DOK, the better their understanding of the concept. Here are some underlying concerns with traditional assessment and grading. Focusing on the number of the question rather than what concept the question covered. For example, a student might say, I got numbers 3, 7, 12, and 23 wrong. Well, what does that mean? What concepts do they need to work on? Number 2, quantity rather than quality. Providing fewer questions which are focused on specific concepts provides far greater quality in terms of information about what the student feedback should be. The student, the teacher, and parent each receive this feedback when the questions are targeted at specific concepts. Most importantly, the student will know what can be done to increase their understanding of their performance. Fewer questions can provide timely feedback. In other words, the assessment can be returned to the student and utilized more effectively, sometimes during the same class period. Timely feedback is one of the most powerful tools we have to improve student learning. And finally, number 3, one and done grades. Rather than repeated opportunities to master the concept, sometimes we get caught in one and done grades. Everyone, adults included, have concepts they learned that took them longer than some others. It's certainly no different with children. Similar to the example of changing a tire, when we teach a child to ride a bike, it takes time and practice. We would never consider telling a child after their first, second, or even third fall, sorry, you don't know how to ride a bike and we have to move on. Hopefully you can pick it up along the way. I recognize that there are times when we truly must move on as a class, but that doesn't relieve us of our responsibility to continue growing the child in their most challenging areas. For a great example of a real comparison between a traditional and standards-based assessment, search YouTube for the title My Foray into Standards-Based Grading. The video was created by Ed Hitchcock. He's a high school physics teacher and does an excellent job of demonstrating the clear differences. Let's take a closer look at the features of traditional and standards-based grading. Traditional grading is focused on the accumulation of points, not achievement of a standard. The points earned may not accurately reflect student achievement of the standards. Why? Because traditional grades are a combination of related and unrelated assessments of skills, knowledge, performance, and conduct over a set period of time. The more factors included in the grade, the more inaccurate the grade becomes. When we focus on evaluating how well the student performs against the standard, the grade becomes a very accurate reflection of a student's knowledge and skill level. When standards-based grading is boiled down to its primary function, we assess students based on their performance against a specific standard. That focus on performance against a specific standard requires a mindset focused on student learning, not chasing points that may not even be tied to performance on a standard. Traditional grades have two main factors. One, simple letter grade based on a variety of related and unrelated factors. Teacher-defined criteria rather than standards and rubrics. The advantages of traditional grading include the simplicity of the process and the freedom afforded the teacher to determine what factors to consider in the grade. The disadvantages are glaring. The traditional grade can provide a very limited measure of a student's abilities. There are several key factors that differentiate standard-based grading from traditional grading. Number one, demonstration compared to standard. Number two, rubrics with distinct performance descriptions for student, teacher, and parent, clarity and understanding. Number three, assessments tied directly to the standard. Number four, penalty-free practice allows for growth. The advantages of standards-based assessment and reporting include being accurate and fair in reflecting on the student's performance. The rubric provides clear performance expectations, and it is accurate because we are focused on student achievement against the standard. The disadvantages include breaking from traditions and the time it requires to develop the system and educate the stakeholders.